Welcome back to Practical AutoCAD and Inventor. In this quick tutorial, I'll be showing you how to create and edit rectangular associative arrays in AutoCAD. AutoCAD gives you full control to adjust the number of items, spacing, and even the objects themselves, all while maintaining the relationship between the elements. In this video, I'll walk you how to select and modify arrays, how to replace or edit individual items in the array, and how to toggle the associative behavior on and off. Also, you can streamline your workflow and reduce repetitive tasks. Let's begin by assuming that you want to create a team of the protocol droids shown here on the screen. If you want to create them in rows and columns so that they look like an army of droids marching in, then array is your natural choice. In this case, I have created this droid as a block just to make it easier for selecting objects, but of course it works with objects that are not blocks. They can just be all separate individual entities as well. To create the rectangular array, you're going to make sure that you're on the Home tab up here at the top, and then on the Modify panel, you will choose the Array icon. Notice that if I hit the flyout right here, there's actually Rectangular Array, Path Array, and Polar Array. These other two types of tools will be used or will be just illustrated in other videos, but today we're going to be looking at this Rectangular Array. After you select the Rectangular Array option, the computer, the program, prompts you to select the object that you want to create the array out of. So I'm simply going to select my droid this way. When I'm done selecting my object, I can press enter, and you'll see that it gives me a preview of an array. Now this is fully modifiable at this point, and you can see at the top up here that my ribbon, which is context sensitive, has changed so that there's a new tab up here for array creation, and all of these tools on the ribbon right now are only usable for the rectangular array command. So starting off here on the left hand side, you can see that I can change the number of columns. Right now, columns are the ones that stand straight up and down. You can see that there's 4 of them. I can change this to 6 and just put the number there, or I could change it to 3 and press enter, and you'll see that it changes the number of columns. I can also change the total, or the distance in between here. Right now it shows that it's 1.01 something. And what that means is it's actually not the distance between the objects themselves, it's the distance from the insertion point of this one to the insertion point of this one. So just be aware that in between is from one point on one object to the same point on the next object. So if I were to come in here, for example, and change this to 1.5, you'll see now that it's from the nose of this droid to the nose of this droid, it's 1.5. Or I could come in here and I could say overall the total distance, and I could make it whatever I want. Let's say I make it 6. Now what it's doing is it's saying from the nose on this one to the nose on the last one, it is 6. And in between is 3. Okay, so that works a couple different ways. Notice if I come in here and I change this now to 4, it continues to keep that spacing of in between there of 3. So now that number automatically changes to 9. The same thing can be said about these numbers here. So I can say I want 3 rows and then change the number of distance between and the total row as well. Another way that you can change that spacing is to simply use the grips themselves. For example, if I come in here and I look at my array, there's a grip in this bottom right, there's a grip in the top right, a grip in the top left, a grip in the bottom left, and then grips in the ones right next to this first one right here, my original one. If I come in here and I hover over that grip, you'll see that it turns red. If I click on it, then it allows me to move that grip. So I can update the distance between my droids just by picking a point. And of course, if you have your snap turned on, then that helps. If I come in here, I can do the same thing that way. So I can change the spacing between my grid or on my droids as necessary. If I pick the outer ones, you'll see that if I pick this one over here and click, it allows me to add more columns or subtract columns. Okay. And if I come in here and I pick this one, it allows me to add or subtract rows. Okay, so you can come in here and you can make all of those changes as necessary. You'll notice here that there are also levels. Right now there's just one level on the XY plane, but if I change this to say 2 levels, it's going to create one on the XY plane, and then it will create another level an inch above the XY plane, so I can actually get into that 3D zone. We don't do that much in AutoCAD. You know, most of the time in AutoCAD we're dealing with just 2-dimensional drawings, so we're going to leave that the way it is. This button right here, associative, is that button that allows us to come in here and make these changes. And because it is still associative, if I choose close array, you'll see that the array ribbon goes away, but this is all still considered to be one object because it's associative. If I click on it again, you'll see that this ribbon comes back, but now that I've already closed it and come back in, you'll see that I have a few other choices. The associative button went away, but now you can see that I still have this one called base point. Right now you can see that the base point is like right between the eyes on each of these robots, but if I come in here, I can come in and I can say I actually want the base point to be that chin, that bottom point right there, and you'll see that it simply moves all of my reference points, all of these grips, to that new point there. If I come in here and I choose edit source, it's going to allow me to make changes to this one that will be changed on all of the rest of them. So for example, if I come in here and I choose edit source and then I pick this original one, I get a little catch box that comes up and it says, hey, you're gonna do these, you're gonna make changes. I can choose OK. Notice here it says enter array close to close out of the array. So if I choose OK, for example, I can come in here, and by the way, these are kind of grayed out. They're saying, hey, you're not editing those, you're just editing this one. If I come in here, for example, and I add a circle on this one's nose, notice that it's filled these in, but it hasn't finished them out yet. Now that I'm done adding the circle on that nose, I can choose array close. And it says, are you sure you want to save those changes? I'll say yes. And now all of my robots have that Ronald McDonald nose so that they're all ready to go. And I've made that change. A couple other things here that I can do is I can replace the item. So let's say that one of these, like let's say this one right here, I want to take and get rid of this one and instead put this X-Wing fighter in there. For whatever reason I'd want to do that, I can say replace the item. It's going to prompt me to choose the replacement object, which in this case I want to be that X-Wing fighter. When I'm done selecting my replacement object, I can press enter, and then it's going to say which one or where's the base point that I want, and I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to pick that point right there as my base point. And then it says select the item that I want to replace in my array. So in this case, I'll say I want to replace this droid right here, and you'll see that it replaces that droid with my X-Wing fighter. When I'm done, I can press enter, and now it's replaced that original droid with my X-Wing fighter, but the rest of the objects are still in place. In fact, if I were to come in here and I were to modify this a little bit and add more, you'll see that it still allows me to add more. Okay, or if I were to change the spacing, it's going to move that X-Wing fighter as well as the rest of them. Okay, so it gives you a lot of space here. Now if I want to get rid of that and I want to go back to the droid, I can come in here and I can say reset that array, and it will come back in and it will get rid of that thing that I replaced it with and allow me to reset it the way that it should be. Now one other thing that you can do is you can move individuals. So say I have these two gaskets here. This gasket is the original gasket and it has some holes around the edges, and then I went in and I made a change to this gasket, so now that this hole is not in the right place, I need it to be right here. I can still come in here and make that change. The way to do it is to hold the control key down and select the one that I want, and then I can simply use that grip to move that circle wherever I want. So I'll say I want it midpoint between, say, that one and that one. So now it's supposedly in the right place on this one, and it's going to be that way. Even if I were to come in here and say add some more, add some more circles in here, it's going to allow me to add more circles, okay? But this one, because I moved it, is still in the same place, all right? So again, just other ways of allowing you to use those commands in new and different ways. Hopefully this is going to save you some time and make your array commands work much smoother. Thanks for watching.